Hello, everyone. I have Warren Norton with me here today. Warren joined me in Systems Academy 2 last year, and he's been working on learning how to develop trading systems with me. And the purpose of this short meeting is to discuss his progress and basically give you a taste of what Systems Academy is all about and what people do. And the reason that I'm recording more than one of this kind of interviews is that I have students from different backgrounds, and it's important to see that it doesn't matter what your background is, but whatever it is, you can learn system development and you can become a systematic trader once you have the correct training. So, Warren, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Ali. My pleasure.
And would you take a minute to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name's Warren Norton. I actually just turned 50 this year, so that was a big milestone for me. I live in Western Canada, Alberta. And yeah, my background is a kind of a technical background in aviation as a pilot, and then moving into higher levels of the 705 or category air transport, basically airline style flying. So I guess our talk today will kind of a little bit about what I've learned and how some of the skills I learned in my former life, I found a way to transfer, and how this systematic approach to trading has really changed the way I look at the markets completely and how I approach trading.
That's great. For those of you who have not seen Systems Academy courseware, I want to say here that the Systems Academy actually has an aviation theme. And this year and last year, we had two students, both of them pilots for major airlines, and Warren is one of them. And we're having quite a lot of fun with that aviation theme, because I find the two fields, aviation and trading, very closely related, actually, because both of them are about doing something that is inherently dangerous, and risk management and risk mitigation is a big deal in both fields. And because of that, a lot of the training and procedures that, and it is not really my place to talk about it because it's your field, Warren, but in my experience, a lot of the training that people have in aviation are very closely related to the kinds of training and preparation that we do as traders. So, when did you join Systems Academy last year?
I joined in the latter part of October, I believe. Maybe early November is when I finally made the decision to move forward with SA2.
That's great. What was your expectations when you joined?
I was, how do I say it? I was convinced after I spoke to a few of the members that you put me in touch with, and I was also I had pretty much made my decision after I'd met you and looked at some of the material you had put out there, and we'd spoke several times months prior.
Great,
But it
thanks.
but it wasn't until I was a little bit apprehensive to start, because there's so much material out in the trading world that isn't of real high quality. And I got the sense for the first time, and I'd only been in trading for 3 years, that this was significantly different. And as it's turned out to be, it's been very, very rewarding. Very
Thank you.
rewarding.
But you had longer background than 3 years in trading, to best of my understanding. Am I right?
Yeah. But I would say when I really made the decision
Right.
be to be a professional and
Mhm.
move forward in it. Prior to that, I looked at the financial market. Well, I came from a farm in Saskatchewan, and
Mhm.
we dealt with futures, grain futures, but we
Yeah.
were doing it for the specific reason why futures were came about, was to budget our farming incomes more consistently, so we knew what we were going to have at the end of a expiry date, rather than
Correct.
in case a crop failed or something like that. But so I had that taste of the buying and selling of it, but also I went
Mhm.
into financial asset management in 2009 and had an insurance license and a mutual funds license and got kind of cut my teeth there. And my timing wasn't the greatest because I got involved in the fall of 2008.
Right.
So, yeah, the fall of 2008. So I think the markets took that was the crash of 2008, I believe. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Well, wow, that was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was. It was. And
I I was I was at the beginning of my trading exactly at the same time, and it was a very steep learning curve to be able to adapt to the high volatility of the market that was the result of that crash. But that's great.
yeah, I can't imagine trading it. Yeah.
It's hard. It's very
Yeah.
difficult. So, what do you think about Systems Academy so far in terms of quality, usefulness, the support that you've received, and the value and impact that it had on you? We can go with the first one, quality first.
I like honestly, it's a 10 out of 10, and I'm biased, but
Mhm.
it's a very high quality, and I can compare, and I feel like I can say that with some confidence because I've been through several training events in my life in my former and current career as an
Mhm.
airline pilot, and it's very similar, and I could feel that when I went through the material when I first was exposed to it.
Right.
When someone's first jet for, or even a new jet or a new style of jet, if you go from Airbus to Boeing or Boeing to Airbus, or your first jet onto a bigger airline
Mhm.
crowd, it's a huge undertaking. But the course is designed to take you through it, even though when you're doing it, you feel like you're overwhelmed in some respects, but the course and the instructors are there to assure you, no, this course is developed. You're right where you're supposed to be. Just move to the next level. And it's almost like building a pyramid. The first layer is very wide and takes a long time, and it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. But as you move up that pyramid, you start to see progress. So that's how this course has been for me. And I felt like that's what it was going to be like, but it's actually I've experienced now over the last, 9, 10 months.
Mhm.
And it's sort of apropos that we're having this meeting tonight when I just made my first submission of, what I would say is a fairly thorough and complete pass of my first systematic trading system.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it for sure. And thanks for that. I just happened to had half an hour or so to look at your documents just before this meeting, and I think they're very good quality. So can't wait to actually sitting down and going through it in detail.
Thank you.
Um, how do you find Systems Academy in terms of usefulness?
Well, again, it's the course is set up. I think it sets people up to succeed, but the type of person that has to engage a course like this
Mhm.
has to be, I would say, pretty well vetted
Yeah,
and have the motivation to move through material like this. If that's not there, I don't think any course, no matter how good it would be, would work. But
yeah,
Systems Academy is set up. We did interviews prior, but the course material itself is methodical. It moves, it flows well, and in conjunction with the weekly coaching,
mhm.
um, it's more. There's more input and more feedback and more support than most type ratings I've been in training events I've been through.
Wow.
So
Do you mean type ratings for aircrafts or for trading?
for aircrafts, and
For
I keep I'll,
aircrafts.
I'll I'll always talk back and forth like that, but to me the training in this is very similar
Mhm.
in respect to it, and because flying is like almost an emotional feel thing with a ton of technical stuff applied to it to make it very safe.
Correct.
And I'm finding trading's very much the same as this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so I was not too far off to pick an aviation theme for this program.
No, and that was surprising to see that. And that's probably what maybe made me move so closely to align the
Mhm.
two as far as the training perspective goes. So yeah, no, I loved it. It's great.
Great. Um, if you look back at your understanding of trading or systematic trading last year before you joined Systems Academy and now, what is the impact of Systems Academy, contrasting where you are now to where you were before you began this work with us?
Well, I had no concept or no idea of where to start. I
Mhm.
thought I thought a trading system was one setup,
I see.
one signal, and that's your system. And
Mhm.
now I've learned that's really, that's merely 25% of the whole process, the whole
Correct.
program. So I would say if to put it at to give it a number, I was maybe at a 2, and now I'm probably at a, 8 because I feel like I could now go on my own. I'm
Mhm.
going to start, forward testing this breakout fall through system. But while I'm doing that, as my time allows, I'm going to start uh, developing a reversal fall through system,
So,
mean reversion system, basically.
right, yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
can apply the same principles to developing multiple systems. That's correct.
yeah.
So, comparing this to, you know, where you are with designing systems and developing them. I mean, this style of trading in general to the way that you used to trade before. What's the difference between the two of them?
Well, the way I, yeah, I'm trying to think of an analogy. Can I make another aviation analogy?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be like getting in a 737 Max with no training and going and taking off and hoping for the best, is how I used to trade. Now I've been trained properly, checked into the aircraft and through all the different uh, programs and
Mhm.
checked to a point that I can go and do that safely on my own and won't kill anybody. So
Awesome. Okay.
it's such a distinct difference in the way I approached it, or I'm looking at it now, than I did just 10 months ago. Like,
Mhm.
I had no concept. I was really just going off feel, hoping for the best, staring at charts. And my practice, my I didn't practice well. I kind of
Mhm.
sat and stared at charts. I realize that now, and I didn't really have any concepts to look for, or you know, but I still did well. Looking back, I'm surprised that I did as well as I did. Looking back, but to approach it this way, this is basically for me. This is the part that takes amateurs
Mhm.
and turns them into professionals.
Okay, great.
To me, yeah,
That's great. Thanks. So you just submitted the documentation for your very first project,
yeah,
and would it be possible for us to take a look at it together
absolutely,
here?
yeah,
All right, so I'm going to start to share the screen. All right, so this is the document that you sent me tonight, and I'm just going to really give everyone a very quick overview of what this document is. This is one of our standard forms in Systems Academy that we use to document project work. And as you see here, it has several chapters or sections. So very first part is the system's concept. Then there is a table for performance reports. Then there's a section on the markets that the system is designed to trade, filters for the system, what the signal is, um, entry or entry rules. All the entry rules are here, followed by how the stop is placed, initial stop loss. This is the trade management section, profit protection, profit taking, position sizing, and financial strategy. So this is version 1, actually. People fill this form. This is a blank form as they design and develop their systems. But then this is usually how it starts. And then over the second and third iterations, I see documents that are more dense than this one. This is a version 1 document, and that's why it's important to show you that even a version 1 document has about 30 pages. So it's not like a one-page handwritten statement that says, this is what I'm going to do for my trading. It's actually more complex than that. So Warren, walk me through this, please.
Okay, so my initial ideas and concepts were what I brought with me, and then as I went through the course material in SA2, I started to isolate and kind of shortlist. First off, what the fundamental um, concepts are behind what moves price.
Correct.
And so that's where I had to go first. So that actually took quite a while. You'd think one would just, okay, I'll just give me the concepts and I'll figure out which one that makes sense to me. Well, that actually took me 2 or 3 months while I was doing the course material to journal about, to study charts, to look at charts, just at a high level, to really think about it almost philosophically or something like that, to kind of what makes sense to me. And then, of course, we talked a lot about in SA2, the breakout fall through, reversal fall through, and one of the major and main components or concepts behind what moves price. So I settled in. I really started to make sense what breakouts, like the energy behind a breakout, and what feeds and what drives that second trade, that second tradable leg.
Correct.
So that's what started to really make sense to me. And I could have put up a jet engine as much as I could have that diagram below that price action.
No, that's nice.
But really, for me, it's as simple as when you compress price in one area and it breaks out of something, there's basically, from a price action and market point of view, there's traders that either got trapped out, there's traders that got trapped in, or there's bigger traders, trend followers that see a winning trade and are going to add on. So they're all going to look for a discount. Maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't. But if you can learn, and this is what I started to look for, that there's usually high percentage chance that there's going to be a second leg which one can trade. So that's what I focus on. So what made sense behind the concept was, I was thinking about there's certain fuel pumps on airplanes, on bigger airplanes, to clear the fuel out of to make sure you're getting as much of the usable fuel as possible. And the pumps, you think, okay, it's going to be electric, or it's going to be hydraulic driven, and it's going to have components and move in it. And it's actually not. It's called a Venturi pump, and it's got no moving parts.
Interesting.
Basically, all it does is it compresses fuel through flow. It gets the fuel flowing through, and then squeezes it down, as you can see in that direction.
Right.
And once it moves past the center of where it starts to compress, it builds pressure, and then it wants to find, because the flow is in that direction, it's going to start seeking low pressure to find equilibrium in the pressure. Correct. And that, to me, makes sense of exactly price. You compress price in one area, price is going to start to look for equilibrium. And generally speaking, with a second leg or a breakout fall through system, it's what I found made sense to me. So this dynamic in fluid, or even in a jet engine, is the same thing. It's responsible for fluid. It's called the Venturi effect. But like I said earlier, there's, I knew I was onto something, because there's a platform called Motive Wave. So I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm too far off, but I know that this makes sense to me, and that's the only person it needs to make sense to.
Yeah, and that is one of the great secrets in trading, that it doesn't matter what the world thinks about you and your trading, as long as it makes sense to you and you are comfortable and happy trading it. That's all that matters. So that's great. Can I show the performance page here?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Show whatever you want.
All right, so here's the next page, systems performance.
Yeah, so I pulled, or if you want to go through it quickly and I can.
Yeah, so these are some of the factors that we use to measure systems performance. Obviously, the easy one is the number of winners. So let me maximize this page first.
And keep in mind, this page right here is based on AR, actual risk.
Actual risk, okay.
Yeah.
So first we have winners and losers and number of trades. So in 70 trades that you tested, you had 3 losses and 75 winners. And the ratio of these two drives this value here, reliability. Next one is profit factor, means for 1 unit of loss, what was the gain? And this is 16.68, which means the profits were almost 16.7 times bigger than losses. Sum of P&L points. So these were the entire number of points that you collected during these 78 trades. And by points, this is based on the unit of measurement of the underlying. I think you tested it on ES, am I right?
I did. I tested on the ES.
Okay,
correct.
so these are ES points, actually.
Yeah.
Then we measure everything based on units of risk. As Warren said, he used actual risk, which means measuring the distance that the market pulled back, and the lowest point of the pullback to your stop would be your actual risk. So that would be the unit of risk that this study is based on.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was I went back through and did initial risk as well.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously my R multiple number was lower, but everything else came out to and the profit factor, but SQN and everything else looked very close to the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And our multiple was better than 0.5.
That's great. Actually, it's right there. Okay. It's easier to see my mouse this way. So this average R multiple is 6.72. This is the expectancy of the system. It means it's going to make 6.7 Rs for every unit of risk taken. For every 1 R, it's going to make 6.72. This is total R multiples, such as points. We had total points here. So this is the cumulative Rs that you collected, right?
Yeah.
And this value is the standard deviation of the results of all the trades and the sum of P&L based on the position sizing that you implemented. And this value up here is T-score of the system, or SQN for systems quality number. This is the name that my old mentor, Dr. Van Tarp, gave to T-score, and we're using it. So that's why these two numbers are exactly the same. And this is a very important factor in system performance. Basically, it means this system is nearly 8 standard deviations above average. And that makes it a very safe system. The combination of high SQN and high win rate with low loss, which drives a high profit factor, makes the system a very highly reliable system. So this is great, Warren. That's
Thank you. Yeah.
very impressive, actually.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out well because it performed like more to you, because you provided a lot of information to teach us how to do this.
Thank you.
But my being that I am employed still, and I'm pulling back on how much work I want to do in my other career to move to full-time trading.
Mhm.
It worked out really well because I think I'm going to, I'll be trading about 15 to 17 trading days, which is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good. I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing that is, sorry, I didn't
No,
mean.
go ahead. Go ahead.
The other thing that is important on this sheet, and I think it really stands out, is this line here, 5 to 6 trades per session. That means the system gives the trader a fairly good number of opportunities to exercise the edge of the system. Had it been like 1 trade per session, then if you had the loss, the recovery would have likely taken more than 1 day.
And a session for me is, I built that off this system off bar 6 to bar 70 on a 5-minute ES.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not trading the first half an hour and not trading the last hour, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
That makes sense too. So this is great. Let's move on to next slides here. So this is designed for CME, E-mini, NASDAQ E-mini, and crude oil.
Yeah, I have a friend that professionally trades crude oil, so I'm interested in seeing how the system performs on that.
Mhm.
I don't know how much I'll follow through on this, but it just because of there's a genuine interest now to develop now that I know have a better idea of how to do this much quicker. Like I
Correct.
feel like the time that it took me to put this system together, I could probably cut that in half now for my next system, just because I have
Yep.
so much more experience.
And that's what usually happens. The
Yeah.
very first system takes the longest to develop, and usually the results are not as great as the second and third system. But the very first system is usually not a production system. So if you manage to get a production system on your first try, oh, that's great. But usually the very first system is just for learning how to design and test systems. So it's like playing with a prototype to figure out, the issues and fix them in versions 2 and 3. But this looks very good. All right, so these are some of the filters that we have for this. I don't want to spend too much time to go through all of it because this is quite a comprehensive document, but just to show that the signal itself is just part of the entry system or entry package. We usually also use filters.
Yeah, and the first three filters are embedded into the indicator, the breakout fall through indicator.
Oh, good point. Let's look at some of your charts too, because I think that will show what the system is actually looking at. Do we have charts in this document?
I added them in. If you open up my spreadsheet, they're hyperlinked. However, there's also three charts that I sent with you in the email. You could just grab one of those and open
Okay,
that.
sure. Let's do that then. So I guess the rectangle is basically where the system sees the first lick. Am I correct?
Yeah, I just basically just it I just took the rank and it moved captures the whole trade. When
Mhm.
this whatever got me interested to enter the market and when I exited the market on the bar I exited. So it just captures an area where there was market participation
Okay.
for me, I guess.
Can you explain this part?
Okay, so the that number two, the box you're right in right now, the blue arrows are the entry and the red line is the entry and the blue line is the exit. So on that particular trade, that would have been a breakout fall through, but as you can see, there's 4 consecutive closes. So I found
Mhm.
that buying below the last bull or bear bar, in this case, it was that bear bar, that bear
Mhm.
doji, and
Mhm.
then I got a fill. And what I was found in my testing is in these cases when bars are fairly uniform in size, to
Mhm.
just move to the top of the to the next point of resistance or average
Right.
bar length, and
Mhm.
usually high probability you'll get your fill. And I'm starting usually no less than 3 points. If the bars are so small, then I'm just sitting on my hands.
Mhm. So this was one entry here, basically buying the pullback. These are limit order entries. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. 80% of my trades are limit order entries. The breakout fall through signal that I have that with non-climactic bars is a buy
Mhm.
the close, sell the close.
I
The
see.
rest of them are all limit order entries.
Okay. So that is this an example of that?
That would be yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That is one.
All
Yeah.
right. Cool. All right. This is great. So well done.
Thank you. Yeah. So now I have this system. Now I'm going to, this is a minimum viable product, or I am a rookie. I'm new on the airplane. So now
Mhm.
I need to develop the experience. And that's why for me, this is why this is making way more sense now. And the correlation between my flying job and my trading job has become like the concept behind it is now I'm just got a license to get in and work.
Right.
But
Correct.
within that, I'm going to develop. And even as you've spoken, and I've seen other members spoken, they've started guys that are maybe a year or two ahead of me, or guys or girls that are a year or two ahead of me, started out doing what I'm doing, and they're finding the system has developed them as a trader, and they still use the system, but they are the system. And
Yes.
that's been my experience in flying. I have lots of procedures that are written down and follow, but I can get in there. I follow them,
Mhm.
but I am the system. I am the procedures, and that
Basically, uh, basically, the procedures become a subconscious part of the whole execution of the flight.
correct, exactly. And I
Mm.
couldn't articulate that till I took SA2 because I didn't realize how similar it is.
And that's correct. I mean, good traders don't think about their rules all that much. They just look at the market, and if they see what they have trained themselves to see before they execute, they just execute immediately. There is no hesitation, no thought, no second guessing, because just as you said with flying, they are the trading systems. They become the trading system. And we have
Yeah.
seen several examples of that over the past year with people who have been in Systems Academy that they say, I spent all of this time developing the system, but my trading has become so good that I really don't have to look at the system. I just know my entries and exits. And that's ultimately the goal here, because we want people to become automatically successful without having to exert a lot of energy to follow some rule set or anything like that.
Well, yeah. I would say there's still going to be a lot of energy. But if you are willing to put it in, this is definitely a roadmap for success. But you need to be motivated, and you got to love it too, I'd say.
For sure, for sure. That's 100%. How do you see your future as a part-time or full-time trader?
I'm just starting to go there in my head, really. And when I put that last sheet together on that document that we were looking at there, you start to look at, if I had a 96%, I think it was expectancy or win rate there, and I said, okay, well that's back testing. I didn't have the luxury of seeing how the bar formed and then have to go my emotions and stuff there. It was like simulator flying. Um, but So I compensated. I even took a 20% human factor drawdown in that number. So I said, okay, well, what if I did this at 76% and did exactly executed well, but just executed at 76%? And I ran those numbers, and the numbers on, even linear growth rate are significant. And if you have the psychology to size up exponentially as your account grows, it goes beyond, I think most humans, it really goes against, not goes against, but it really opens your mind up to a future that that we all kind of imagine. It is a luxury career, and you have to put the time in and become a master. But I see myself over the course of the next 24 months, I don't want to quit my flying job, and I have the luxury of working in a sector where and a time, I should say, where my experience level is sought after. So even if I was to give it 25% of the time and receive some kind of income off that,
Mhm.
that would free up a lot of my time and allow me to continue to fly once in a while. And I can ease into this while maintaining my career. But ideally, in 24 months, I want to be not relying on my flying income.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So you joined Pro Trader Mentoring, which I do on weekends. Like on Saturdays, we have a class every week, and then I follow up during the week with people. You did it in between Systems Academy. So how do you see the two of them to complement one another, or maybe not work together well? What was the reason that you joined Pro Trader Mentoring in the middle of your Systems Academy course?
FOMO.
Oh, really?
No, I'm joking. Uh,
That was a
it
good one.
just, well, you could tell the traders on SA2, they had a level of expertise and grasp concepts I didn't. And I was like, well, how do these guys, how does everybody know this stuff? And I don't. And
SA2 or PTM?
sorry, PTM.
Okay.
But when we would do the SA2 coaching on Thursdays,
Right, right.
I'd hear the traders that were in PTM, and they obviously had a higher level of understanding. And based on where they were in SA2, I was like, either I'm missing some information here, or I've chosen the wrong career. But so I started asking questions, and sure enough, they were in PTM. So I think that if I was still to go back and do this again,
Right.
I would go through all the computer-based training,
Hmm.
very methodically make notes, and then have a general understanding of, okay, what I'm about to do. Because that's really, I think there's 30 or in it. I went over them several times. I probably turned 30 hours into 100 hours, but there's 30 hours of course material to go through prior. And if you're going to go through it thoroughly, I think you should double it at least. Um, and then make notes. And then when you're done that, join PTM and
Correct.
start system building. Because I think if you're going to try, because the information I'm getting on Saturday on PTM, the day of is maybe 20%.
Mhm.
It's through the week that you have to study those concepts, take one or two pieces of that and study them, and then know that you have that forever, and you can go back and go, this month I'm going to work on this, and then I'm going to review this one and work on this.
Yep.
It's an enormous amount of work, but it's not work. It's fun. But if you
Yes.
manage your time well, and as a trainer in flying, I would never put a new candidate on an airplane um, into the sim, into full flight simulator training and computer-based training simultaneously. It's just too much. You would
Hmm.
overwhelm them and be negative training. I
Hmm.
would personally get the computer-based or the videos that you put out when you put SA2, start joining the Thursday night group whenever you
Hmm.
run it again or whenever it is.
Hmm.
And then once you're done those first pass through those SA2 videos,
Hmm.
then immediately get into PTM,
Hmm.
jump in and start at the beginning, because I believe because you might jump in somewhere midway, right?
Yeah.
But you get access to everything from the beginning to where you are currently, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So if I was to do it again, I would start PTM and then start at the very first video and then start developing myself that way. And it's a lot of self
Mhm.
study. But
Yeah.
if you're motivated, you can do it pretty pretty smoothly, and then you have access to you or other traders and stuff when questions arise.
Yeah.
Does that
So
make does
for
that make sense?
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
totally. So for people who don't know what PTM is, I do a mentoring program that is only focused on discretionary trading based on price action. So Systems Academy is 100% focused on system development. And the other program is actually the exact opposite. It's 100% focused on completely discretionary trading. But what I've been seeing over the years that I've been teaching is that people who are in price action trading with no notion of systematic approach to trading, their success is limited. And people who are in 100% systematic trading with no notion of discretionary trading, their success is also limited. And there seems to be a balanced blend of these two different disciplines that makes the trader well-rounded and really ready for the markets. And that's why I do both of them. And that's what we call PTM, Pro Trader Mentoring. That's just the acronym for it.
Mhm.
All right, thank you so much. So, any comments or experiences that you would like to share with other people?
No, like I said, it's been my pleasure to do this interview with you, and like the courses, I'm very grateful to
Thank
be
you.
a part of this and continue to work. And like I said, this is just the beginning. So who knows where all this will go, but there's definitely, Ali, you're definitely on to something on how to teach people how to do some, to trade well.
Thanks.
But like what you just said, it's up to the individual too, and it takes a lot of like knowing yourself well and what you can do and what you can't do, and simple things like learning how to manage your time very well are important in doing something like this.
Yeah, 100%. We don't discuss trader psychology all that much in the two courses that I teach, but I try to squeeze in the good points of trading psychology in technical terms. So I never discuss it as, okay, this is do this or meditate every night or anything like that. But we discuss trading psychology in the way we read charts. A lot of it is psychology. And I think your point is very valid that time management is absolutely critical because both of them are long programs. And people who come to work with us, they're usually serious traders. So they know that they've passed the stage to know that you cannot grab a system and trade it and be successful. If I tell you what to do, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful. Everyone has to do their own research and go through the development phases before they
Yeah.
become successful.
Yeah, there's no free lunch here, and I
No,
think that's why it attracts so many people because it's so easy to get into. But once you finally understand, it's on par with any, I think, time-wise is getting a PhD. But
yeah,
if you're passionate about it, the time does fly.
absolutely. It's
But one,
all, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's a lot of work, but it is also a lot of fun doing the work if you are actually a real trader. And a real trader is somebody who's not after making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is after learning this career well. Because if you learn it well, the money is going to come. Nobody can prevent it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've found here is just enjoy the process of learning
Yeah.
about trading well. What I was just going to mention, and then I'll be quiet, is on the trader psychology point is prior to, because this is trader psychology, but it's data driven,
Yes.
and I think it's the best because I had spent some time and looking into trader psychology into it, but that wasn't my problem. I just thought it was my problem. My problem was lack of research and development and understanding the concept behind what I was trading.
Great.
So,
and thanks for your time. Really appreciate this quick chat.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thanks for sharing your thoughts with everyone.
Absolutely, anytime, Ali.
Have a good day. Thanks.
You too.